Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome into League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys as we continue just on the edge of our seats, waiting for all this free agency offseason news to drop. You know it's all going to come at once in a storm of rumors being confirmed, but something's jammed in the pipeline. It's only slowly trickling through, Mark. It can't explode yet.
It's that chain of dominoes looking to go all the way through, and then it just hits that one snag on that one domino that just starts to turn, and it just hasn't fallen completely over yet. That's what this free agency and offseason has felt like. Rumors aplenty, lots to talk about, and spicy ones at that. Not a lot of full confirmations, but we got a couple of them coming through for today.
We do have progress, and we maybe thought this could be the start of a chain of moves, and that is with Fnatic, who have been linked to all sorts of rumors throughout this offseason. Most recently, it has been Wunder coming over from G2 to replace Adam, who looks like he'll be going to BDS, and the buyout was too high. Carlos originally wanted $2 million for Wunder, so it was Fnatic was like, we lost Adam, we can't get the guy we want, we're doomed. They eventually, I don't know if it was haggling or Carlos just accepting, K-Corp gave us a lot of money, so I'll settle for $600K, which is what the rumored buyout is, which means Wunder will be joining Fnatic.
I'm going to go with option 2. I think it was a lot about that K-Corp cash coming through the money line. That helps lessen the blow of losing Wunder that way, and I think that this is a good move for both organizations. Maybe Carlos is still wincing a little bit having to give a player over to Fnatic, something that he wouldn't like, but still the buyout, plenty of money through. We get to see a very talented, loved player in Wunder return back to the stage for the LEC, and getting him with Fnatic and what this can mean for their roster. Very exciting times.
It's very exciting, especially when you combine, first off, every team in the LEC is making at least one move, with most of them completely shifting the entire core of the roster. So now I think the biggest question mark, because Razork sounds like it's pretty much confirmed, we know there was a bit of a snag with the humanoid discussions, and a lot of that was related to the top lane. With Wunder now seeming like he's going to be coming in, I got to imagine that fully opens the door for humanoid, and hopefully they can figure those things out. With the lineup of Wunder, Razork, Humanoid, Upset and Hylissang returning, and all the chaos that's gone around the rest of the LEC, on paper, Fnatic are looking like the favorites for spring.
On paper, they provide enough of that star power, but the big one to me, when you look at how everybody should be interacting and operating on this roster, it's the stability that I immediately jump out and feel confident with this Fnatic roster. I think a lot of people are down on the stock of Wunder and what happened last year, and what his blame for that collapse for what should have been G2's golden year. Yeah, there's some fair blame and some fair criticism for his performance, but you go back the last 3-4 years, you are not finding a better European top laner, never mind a more accomplished European top laner than what Wunder has become in the region. I think that is going to be a big boon. And of course, Humanoid coming in and making sure that there's another big mega star in that mid lane, someone to take that, up and above what Niski was able to give the team last year. That's what I think Humanoid can absolutely provide for the Fnatic faithful.
Yeah, I think people have forgotten that Humanoid was pretty much consensus the highest ranked Western player coming into the World Championship. With Caps having a bit of a down year, it was Humanoid stepping into that best mid in EU role. So yeah, it's a massive get for Fnatic. In terms of Wunder, obviously how things fell out with G2 was, a little sad, a little awkward that a guy who's been there for so long, that's how it comes to an end. I was happy to see people come to his defense in terms of he plays too much WoW, and he's terrible, doesn't take scrims seriously. I know that those memes are just completely surrounding him, but coaches and players alike have said, all right, this is funny and all, guys, but the guy takes the game seriously and has been one of the best top laners in the West for 3 years now.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where you better believe that ourselves included and the rest of the community will make these type of jokes. They're fun. That's all you need to look into it. But as you said, it is really great to hear that you can get that professional side to back him up and say that, look, as much as we all think in the back of our minds, still that, of course, he's a professional, all these type of jokes we're making, to get that confirmation from his teammates, his coaching staff, of course, that would be the push forward. And I think that this is going to be a major difference maker for Fnatic. That is going to provide that level that they haven't had. You think about what Bwipo could offer the team, and you think about how many times he matched up against Wunder and what you want to take. And I think a lot of
Didn't
people
go well most of the time.
I think a lot of people should look back at those results unless you've got those rose-tinted glasses going on. Because I tell you what, they're definitely majorly in the favor of Wunder.
Let's see the Olaf Yumi matchup topside when Wunder and Adam match up in that rematch. Also, if you're doing a power ranking for best trash talking in Twitter game, Wunder's at the top of the list. It doesn't matter what region. He is an absolute treat to follow on social media. The other name or team that has been surrounded by seemingly endless amount of rumors is Cloud9, and we thought the Fudge role swap Summit coming over was going to be the end. That's going to be your starting five. Now we're hearing that they're looking even further into some potential pickups from Korea. Obviously, Summit coming over to replace Fudge, who's going to mid. But now we're hearing that Winsome, as a support, is a guy who played in the LCK Challenger scene, who is actually a North American resident. That's where he was born. Grew up before playing in Korea. He's going to be fighting with Isles potentially for that starting support spot. And they're even looking at Berserker, who is T1's Academy Challenger AD carry, to potentially maybe have a 7-man roster or compete with Sven for that starting spot. I think Cloud9 saw Gumiyoshi and Teddy how good they were and said, man, these guys must just farm great AD carries over at T1.
Jack must have some type of master plan, a magical kaleidoscope that he is looking through to see these players coming over and what could happen. I'm not as extremely familiar, but absolutely knowing a little bit about Winsome and thinking about him competing with Isle, that's not necessarily something I would say is bad, but absolutely there's a lot of risk involved in these type of ideas floating around for Cloud9 and what you want to do. Coming away from the level that you had been, the type of quality or immediate caliber of player that you have been acquiring, it's going to be a difference for the C9 fan base.
It could, if that ends up being, the 7-man roster and Winsome and Berserker kind of come as a pair, then you're talking 3/5 of Cloud9 speaking Korean or having sub-Korean roots, which, we talk about EU teams in North America. Now we're just getting the old LCK special with this squad. Also linked to some of this rumor is LS as head coach. 1%. This isn't happening. He's got a pretty sweet setup, not only with his streaming, but he's also part of T1. If he came over and coached Cloud9 in any capacity, he'd have to leave T1, and I don't see that happening.
I get it. T1, C9, they both got a BMW partnership, but that's about all you can link between the two in that way. I'm not buying this one. I think, as you said, LS has got a great opportunity and gig currently already in front of him in Korea, and plenty of opportunities there. And he is someone that has stated, look, he's going for the full-on residency in Korea. That's his application and everything else. He's not looking to move anytime soon, and I don't think Cloud9 is going, well, we want a fully remote head coach. I don't think that's exactly the path they're going to go down. And you've already got Max Waldo on the staff. You basically got LS in training. There's no way that I see this one going through for Cloud9.
It sounds like an off-season where Cloud9's just trying everything. They're fully embracing the chaos after spending so much money on perks alone. They seem to be dabbling a little bit in every single pool that they possibly can. I don't know what this final roster is going to end up looking like. I will say if it ends up being a 7-man rotation, it did work for them in the past, except afterwards Jensen said, I hated being benched and I want to leave the team. So
I think as what we've seen from in the past and that great evidence from Jensen, and then this past year with the rotating carousel round that we had with T1 in spring, I think we should put together these large rostered teams to rest for at least the next year.
But Cloud9 is the one who goes against the grain in North America. We'll see. Maybe Fudge will actually end up playing jungle in 2021. I don't know how things are going to end up playing out. But what we do know is the LCS going to be looking a little bit different in 2022. Now it seems like it's just routine to have this chat about the format changing in the LCS. It seems to happen almost every year. the big changes now that are announced. First off, lock-in tournament sticking around, which is great. I think you and I both enjoyed that little exhibition type match that they had. We're going back to double round robin, which means 18 games, not going to have the 28 or 27, however many they played in summer. The big one for me is the spring split team records do not carry over into summer. I think absolutely everyone is happy with that revert back to what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people were hesitant to make type of changes, to take risks in that early part of the year, understanding that it was going to cost them at some point in the summer if it doesn't work out. That was not what teams wanted, and I think everybody, as you said, can agree that that is a nice change away for the LCS. We've been at this long enough working together that we've been through best of threes changing to best of ones and everything we've gone in between. So to get some more changes and return to a more, neutral LCS schedule, absolutely, I think is good and going to be good for the players as well. I think that the lock-in tournament, that's what people are sleeping on, my man. That is going to be a fun time, and that is where I'm hoping to see some of the experimentation early on as we look at these rosters and players trying to figure things out. That's where my eyes are, and still a big prize pool of $150,000, man. Going to be getting some green for winning that event.
Yeah, the lock-in, I think, was far and away the best addition that they had last year with the big change. You get games earlier, you get storylines developing, you get the cash prize, as you mentioned, and it doesn't impact the rest of the year as much because it is an opportunity. Most of these teams are going to be fielding very different rosters than they had last year, so it's an opportunity to get them stage games. We're also getting back to 6 teams in playoffs. Thank goodness 80% of the teams in the league aren't making it. I believe it's still going to be the similar format where the winner of spring is going to MSI. There's no championship points. The 3 teams for Worlds are still going to be settled in that big double elimination bracket. So we're keeping the double elims for the Worlds playoffs as well, which, again, 2 thumbs up there.
Yeah, we're feeling good. I think absolutely if there's a nitpick, it would be talking about the, best of one, people want best of 2, best of 3 type of situation. But then obviously that's talking about adding more games to the schedule in the long run. And that's something that seemed to be one of the issues they wanted to address scaling back. So I don't know how, motivated Riot's going to be for that. But they did give us that little bit of an extra treat, a little bit of an extra carrot for North America. No more one tricks in your solo queues, pros. Welcome to the Champions queue.
Yeah, that's the other huge change. Is obviously this is how many years back are we going where people were calling for that tournament realm to be able to play, higher quality solo queue practice. We didn't get any official dates or full details, but Champions queue, it's coming. It's going to be on a West Coast server. Obviously, pretty much every single pro player is going to be plays in California because that's where the LCS takes place. So they're all going to be there, and we need the details of who can play on this realm. That's the main one that we need. But the NALCS Players Association basically saying Core JJ, as we knew, was at the forefront, the real head, really pushing for this. We know Bjergsen has a lot in the past as well, and Inero, part of Golden Guardians. Those were kind of the big 3 that were pushing for this to happen. It feels incredibly late, but this is one of the steps that you felt like you needed for the LCS and North America as a whole to get back on that competitive international stage.
Yeah, I really like that. You go look at SK Support Treats and you see some of his tweets from his time when he's talking about being on TSM and being around Bjergsen, trying to make this push for a type of tournament realm Champions queue. And that it seemed that, yes, there was significant progress, significant talks, but nothing was imminent. And that his interpretation of what the news that we got today was Riot finally decided to do something. They finally decided to take that next step and try to do something proactive for that top level of queue in North America. And absolutely, as someone that wants to see North America and League of Legends succeed, there's no secret in that bias. Absolutely very happy about this announcement. I think there's a little bit of concern, and someone specifically for Canada, Eastern Canada is going to be kind of left out in this situation. but there's absolutely other avenues that we can talk about later for amateur teams and everything else in that way. But very happy to see this Champions queue come through for the many deserving LCS pros.
I think it's honestly a great opportunity as well to, crack down on a lot of toxicity in high elo solo queue. And honestly, it could be a spectacle because you look at when Worlds happens and how many streamers, how many people are doing watching the pros in solo queue, right? Just going through and watching their games. If you had a specific Riot channel with observers that was designated to these games, people would watch them. If you just constantly were able to watch these Champions queue streams of pretty much only either challenger level players or pro players on the Rift, people would watch them, and they're a lot less likely to be inting and running it down when there's a showcase of them playing.
You better believe that would be one of the reactions to that type of queue. And I think that, as you said, yeah, people do absolutely tune in to tracking the pros. They want to see the super server when it's time for Worlds. I don't think that that's any different if you just, scale it back to being about the LCS, an LEC, whatever type of situation. I think absolutely that will be part of it. And the benefits always will be felt by those players. That quality of practice and gameplay, to be able to get that outside of scrims is just the next level improvement for North American LCS.
The other way that they are improving and changing things, well, it's up for debate about improving, but the academy scene, we've seen these proving grounds where you have these 10 amateur teams that get to match up against the LCS academy teams, and the amateur teams have been pretty damn competitive and made some deep runs in these tournaments. So the other change is there's no more academy playoffs. It's just going right into proving grounds where you have the 10 academy squads matching up against, of course, themselves, and then the 10 amateur teams. I'm always here to see growth and new developments when it comes to that amateur scene.
Yeah, I think it was fantastic. If you weren't paying attention to the proving grounds in the last year, you've been missing out on some really exciting, thrilling League of Legends in this scene. And that's one of the things that I'm really excited about this change, because we're going to get more from this type of change is what we're seeing. It's going to be a good time in the LCS for 2022.
And people are finally, teams are scouting and viewing these games. There's so many more players that we're now seeing get promoted. It's a combination of an insane amount of people being importing EU or Korean players, but you're also seeing guys like Jojo Pian get opportunities to be a starter in the LCS.
And it's pushing these academy teams in ways that they haven't been pushed at all since the academy system was put in place in North America. The amount of times that we would see these full-on, these amateur teams, and whether that amateur team is all the truest sense of amateur, or whether some of them are former LCS players that we've seen, to get that level of competition, those fights, that's what you need to be happening at that academy level to keep improving, keep sharpening yourself against steel. That's what we're seeing in these matchups, and you better believe that getting more of them in this type of sense is going to be the best thing possible for these academy teams, for these academy players to keep improving.
It's a long list of things the LCS needs to do to improve as a region to be able to compete on the international stage. These are a couple of things that you can start to maybe write a check mark on, at least going in the right direction. A little bit more LCK rumors and off-season roster changes. We're starting with KTrolster, who, again, we're many years away from the SMEB era of them being the top dogs, but they are trying to make some noise when it comes to the offseason. Sounds like they'll be bringing Aiming back, who was there in 2020 and was a standout performer for them before he went to BLG, and bringing Cuz over from T1. I mean, I think Cuz getting another starting opportunity is great. He was great at times on T1, absolutely deserving of another starting spot, and Aiming maybe didn't have the best year in the LPL, but remember, we were really hyping him up when he was in Korea.
Yeah, when he was back, absolutely, KT. That's where we wanted to see what he was able to do. This is an exciting opportunity for KTrolster, the way they're building it up. I think anybody expecting KT to return to those, the SMEB era of salary is the big one to look at, and how they would have to pay these
Chovy rumor. There's a Chovy rumor with KT.
I'm not biting on that one. I would love it. I think that would be super exciting if we did get Chovy with KT. A revival of the KT T1 rivalry, the telecom wars. That would be something else. I don't see it happening. I think that this is going to be certainly scaled back, and the rumors, signing a Cuz, signing aiming, that is absolutely in that territory of scale back that I'm expecting. But as you said, these are certainly players and moves that can push you into that playoff tier in the LCK. And I think as specifically Cuz, as you mentioned, is someone that I think a lot of people are going to be down on from his time at T1 and forget about a lot of the positives and the good streaks that he was able to generate with that team and what he had done before even being on T1. That potential, it's still there for Cuz, and I think it, as you said, deserving another shot.
There were moments where he was bodying Klid in that head-to-head matchup, the guy that he was replacing at the time. Chovy has been linked to 5 or 6 different teams, so yeah, that rumor doesn't...
And TSM.
And TSM, and it sounded more and more like Chovy and Deft are kind of a package deal, and if they just signed aiming, probably not happening. They also just, Doran entered free agency. He's going to be one of the most coveted free agent top laners alongside Nuggery. I've seen the Gen G link for Doran. Maybe he stays with KT. He's one of the most sought-after guys, which is exciting for him, and of course, we're very happy for him to be one of those sought-after guys.
He's been pretty stable, pretty, flying under the radar, but not necessarily for any bad reasons during his time in the LCK, and certainly someone that if you think about getting that next level of potential, maybe the rest of the roster is perfectly suited for what he wants to do and how he wants to play. It could be a big payoff for a squad.
Give him a good team, because he was dragging KT's corpse throughout a lot of 2021. He was the lone bright spot for them. Speaking of free agent top laners, we've got a return. Someone on Freddie Brion said, listen up, guys. It's going to be a great offseason. We are getting a former Griffin player to join the squad, and they are going to take us to new heights. Everybody, welcome Freddie Brion Sword. Freddie Brion Sword. He's back on the Rift. I know he gets memed into another stratosphere. There were moments where he looked good on Griffin and was one of the better top laners in the LCK, but it was definitely a classic case of being built up by being on a star team and most of his weaknesses hiding until he matches up against the Shy, and it all comes crumbling down.
You know what? I'm very willing to be wrong on this show and this occasion. I'm not buying this sword move. I don't think this is going to be one to pay off for Freddie Brion. But as I said, I'm willing to be proven wrong by this one. The bros have proven everybody wrong at almost every turn last year and what they did, and actually had some reasonable growth the way through they did through the year and picking up some extra bits. I'm still not buying into this one, but they did bring back pretty much everybody from last year, and now you're bringing in Sword. I'm gonna be an innocent bystander until we see anything good going on, any upsets from the bros.
You just feel like you know what you're getting with Sword. Why not give someone an opportunity, a younger player who hasn't, been able to really showcase themselves on the big stage? But it seems like there's much other talent out there to use over Sword. But I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah, exactly. What do we know? It's all in the bros' hands at this point. They managed to pull off some incredible upsets last year. Sword's not necessarily the guy that I'm thinking of pushing you to even more upsets.
If Chovy, when they match up and Sword is in the top lane, I feel like he's going to have a little bit of extra fuel to be annihilating that matchup against Freddie Brion. So be scared when you match up against Chovy, wherever he ends up playing. But that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll catch you on that flippity flip.